Okay, welcome back to a new episode of the Doc Series, our fourth one in this summer series, and really proud to be joined today by Michael Raff, NHLPA certified agent. Raff, we've known each other for a long time and had a pleasure of spending some nights in a rink with you and watching some hockey together over the years, and thrilled to be in a position where we have some of your clients on the Bulldogs with my junior program, and then now with Lambeau and DKL we get the chance to work with some of your guys as they transition to pro hockey. So thrilled to have you here today, and looking forward to this. This will be good.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for having us, Dale.
Thanks for coming, Raff. Appreciate it.
Beautiful spot.
So, Raff, I think one of the things that maybe drew me to you as we met each other and started getting to know each other was we both sort of have a unique path in the game of hockey that maybe is a little unorthodox compared to some of the other guests we've had here in the Doc Series. And why don't you, take us back a little bit? How did you get involved in hockey and make the, I say, very brave decision to decide to want to be an agent?
Absolutely. That's interesting. I'm excited to hear this.
Yeah, so I call it the dark side. So, it's interesting. So I grew up in Newfoundland and a single mom, and in hockey at the competitive level really wasn't in the cards. It just was too much. But I was enamored from, 11, 12 years old on the business side. I just loved it. And I would hang around the American Hockey League rink, the Toronto Maple Leafs farm team in St. John's, and I really got to know, as a young guy in the stands all the time at practice and all these types of things, I got to know the system, right? And different managers and that kind of thing. And anyway, fast forward into going into university and college and that kind of thing, I started something called Hockey Resume, and it was just for minor professional athletes. And we would we made terrible business plan, but we made no money. But we would, we had a website, and we'd have players from all over the world, pay us to be part of a showcase in Niagara Falls, and then we would take that money and fly in the minor professional coaches. As you know, they don't have scouting staffs. Yeah. So we would kind of have that weekend. Well, truth be told, one day I get a call from a young gentleman, says, "Can my dad come in help practice, and can I get in for free," kind of thing. And I said, "Well, I think we got to figure it out." Well, my dad actually just won the Jack Adams Trophy, Bruce Boudreau. So Bruce actually, and Ben and Andy, his kids, they joined us at this event every summer. We ran it for 5 years and got deals. At the end of it all, Andy and Ben became clients, and they were minor professional players. But that's how I kind of got my start at that point, and realistically, it just grew from there. It's one of those careers that just finds you, and once it gets a grip of you, this hockey thing doesn't let go. Yeah. So it was pretty cool. Yeah. So. And then we put that Hockey Resume to bed. We created Kaizen Sports, my brother and I. He's an accountant and an engineer. He's got the brains and the looks. And we started this thing, and here we are. Yeah.
I was going to make a hair joke, but I'm in no position
Please
to
don't.
make a hair joke. Yeah. It is such a crazy story, Raff, how the game just sort of grabs a hold of you. And trust me, Lambeau has asked me on many nights, why do you do this? Like, what is it about this that makes you do it? What is it for you that makes you do it?
Honestly, it's that one phone call you get when a kid gets called up, when he makes a team, when he gets a contract offer, because there's a lot of downs, and that's what we try to mitigate and help navigate those paths for kids. There's a million paths to one place, and everyone's going to take a different one. Yeah. And so becoming an expert in that subject is what I've done, but also it's not about the money for me, and it really isn't. It's about a family looking at me and saying, you know what, throughout this journey you were there, through the good and the bad.
Love it.
And it's kind of what you guys do. It's really, we're in the same business, but we just service differently.
Lambeau, I could say, thankfully, with less conversations about power play time.
That's right. yeah, and more on returns maybe. Yeah. But yeah, so that's kind of how it all came down, and I was lucky enough to get a job at the Okanagan Hockey Academy, and I coached there for 8 years. And truthfully, it wasn't my passion. My passion was helping kids move on, and help them in that area.
Dixon Ward, of course, with Okanagan Hockey Academy, they're a long-time DKL client, and so Raff, when you talk about coaching, that never bit you. The bug wasn't there to.
It wasn't there in terms of the X's and O's, but it certainly was there on trying to get players AP'd and signed, and it was really then that I thought, this is my calling. Like, this is what I'm meant to do, and you know, like I said, we started Kaizen Sports, and you know, we had a real kind of we started with the NCAA route, and then we've now kind of gotten more into, in the last 5-6 years, more into the Western Hockey League. So now we've got kind of 50-50. Yeah, absolutely.
Michael, when you look back, I guess if you see hockey as it's developed with the kids that you work with, do you think that taking the university route makes more sense? Or do you think going the dub route? I mean, I hear that discussion many a times.
Right.
What are your thoughts? I mean, it's going to be everybody to its own and every player to its own. But,
Right.
you know, ultimately, what does your gut tell you based on, you know, post-hockey life?
Right.
Looking beyond, you know, when the days of skating and being on the team, I think, which is hard for everybody, looking beyond 30, 35 years old, for the most part, players don't, that's the end game. What are
Right.
your thoughts?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question, and I get it all the time. And one of the things that I look at, you know, if we're looking at hockey specific, it's the mental and physical maturation of that person at that point in time. The Western League is a great route, right? In my opinion, it's the mini NHL. It's, if you're good enough to play there, by all means. But most people don't mature with beards at 14, and you know, and physically and mentally and realistically, probably the hardest thing isn't the physical maturity of the player, it's the mental maturity. 70+ games, a lot of back-to-backs and that kind of thing. So that's the hockey side. But on the actual, on the personal side, on the, you know, looking forward, 35, 40 years old, I'm a big fan of college hockey, and it gives you an extra little bit of runway.
Sure.
It teaches you time management, because that's important. I find a lot of times, you know, the kids in major, junior, what they do struggle with going into pro is actually maybe a little less on the hockey side, a little bit more on the personal side of getting everything organized and making sure that they're, you know, on a day-to-day basis, that they're not, you know, cross-threaded all the time. So that, to me, there really are, both paths are great, but I would say that the majority of players probably need a little extra time and the ability to get educated in something that they're going to hopefully pursue after hockey. So that's where I stand on that.
Interesting. Okay.
What do you think as you start working with young guys? You know, the pros are certainly one thing, or the college guys who maybe are a little more mature. You know, what do you find maybe the number one questions that young families have for you as their player sort of gets into that high performance stream?
Yeah, I think really, realistically, we just answer that.
Yeah.
It's the path. It's which way do we go, and why do we go that way? And for me, a lot of times we have a list of things we go through, and it's not necessarily about the league all the time. It's more about the people that you're surrounded by, right? And good people, and good coaches, good ownership, good facilities, a history. Port Alberni Bulldogs, yeah, little shameless plug there.
Good programs like the Bulldogs
and everyone else,
like the V's,
and everybody else, yeah. But that's exactly it, and that's it. Just trying to figure out, where would my son, you know, I guess, or daughter, but for us, it's, you know, where does my son play, and why? And so those are the questions that we get.
How does that change when you get to the older player? Now you've got that college guy who's made that decision, or that Western leaguer who's 21 now and about to sign his first American League deal. What sort of ramps up at that point?
Well, at that point, it comes down to my extension. So I consider you guys an extension of our family of Kaizen Sports. Yeah. And that's where it comes in is it's just about being able to, again, we talk about good people. This is where good people are. And so for me, Dale, as I told you here before we started shooting, is, you know, the financial literacy part. That's one that the players end up getting, right? So I've helped them get their path. They've performed enough to get a contract, and now it's, well, what do I do with my money? Wait a second. There's taxes. Look, this bonus doesn't look as you know, as fat as it did.
There's an agent fee to pay.
Yeah, well, there's an agent fee, right? Yeah, no one wants to pay that. And that reminds me, I've got to make a call to a couple of guys. But, you know, I think that's what it comes down to, is just, you know, I've got this kind of newfound capital. What do I do with it? How do I save it? And that's where realistically a lot of our time goes into at that point, is the financial literacy. And that's why, you know, we reference them back to DKL.
Yeah, I don't want to put you on the spot. Obviously, you know, we're not the only firm that you work with, but, you know, Raff, like, what is it that you think Dale and his team does really well for your guys?
Well, and again, as I told Dale, you can find a money manager on LinkedIn every day of the week, and they do connect with me every day of the week. And the biggest thing for me is no different than what my clients expect from me, and that's just going above and beyond, right? And caring, and that's empowering them and helping, equipping them for life. And so that's what you guys do on this side of the business. And so for me, it's the financial literacy, it's the caring, it's the accountability that you put into, our clients, budgeting, right? These are things that they take a lot of time. Most of it you're unpaid for. But at the end of the day, what you guys are doing and what I'm doing is we're hopefully making players better, and we're helping players, but we're also making them better people in terms of
better human beings.
Being better human beings. Yeah, absolutely.
That's my goal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've always said, being the president and CEO of my company, I care like nobody else. You can work for a firm, you can work for a bank, you can work for for somebody else, but you'll never care as much as the person that has built it. And over 26 years, what I've built at this firm, and watching these young gentlemen, and the ability to work with one of our players who's been on a previous doc series, when Mr. Glenn Cochran said, if there's one thing I wish I would have done is been able to have met you when I was 19. That's something that really hits me at heart, because I look at where I can look at that and say, there's so many kids out there that have that chance. And everybody wants to tell them, I got a guy, I got a guy, I got a guy. Say, you know what, we're not the guy, we are a team.
Right.
Whether that be ladies, young gentlemen, senior advisors, we are a team with analysts, accountants. And it's so important to be able to know that as you build out and your career goes on, whether it be in your business or anything else, you always want to get better, be around better people.
Right, right.
And you know what, we're honored to be able to help you and help your kids, because you know what, you've reached out and you have the trust with us. So thank you for that, Michael.
Yeah,
I appreciate
absolutely,
that.
Yeah. And knowing Glenn just a little bit, I consider him a friend. I think that he would speak kind of what our players would speak, is understanding, being able to have, again, financial literacy. But the only way you're going to understand how to save a dollar, how to compound, all of those things, is going to be through experts like yourself that are willing to take that time and and work with them.
And it's all the facets. When they're young gentlemen and they're young players and they want to buy a house. Should we buy? Shouldn't we buy? What's inflation doing? What's interest rates going to do? What's my cash flow going to be like? They don't understand so many facets. And like you say, it's the ability for them to trust you. And again, having you select the right people as part of your team is critical. And we see that when I get young people. I can think of a handful of agents. I work with many, many agents. And I've met probably over 20 since I've been in this business.
Right.
And there's very few that I would refer to, and you are one of them that I would, because you know what, Michael, you care like few others. You've got that, I call it the East Coast love, baby. It's the truth. That's the fact. Give me 5 minutes, Raff. I love it. So
hey, are we drinking some screech after this?
Oh, we could.
Yeah. Funny you say that.
I bet you've kissed a cod or two in your life.
Oh, I've kissed worse. Yeah.
So, Raff, obviously Kaizen is, it's been around for a while, but I still consider it sort of one of the new kids on the block. I guess tell us your vision. If you could push fast forward for 20 years from now, besides attending games in a helicopter, what do you think the vision is?
Well, I'll start with this, and I tell every client this: if I'm not invited to your wedding, then I haven't done my job, right? And so for me, it's about having that trust, that ability to empower them, equip them. And like I said, there's no better feeling than seeing a guy achieve his dreams. It is really powerful, And so, my vision: keep on keeping on, and don't really just kind of follow the trend. We're kind of fewer and fewer independents now, and we're proud to be an independent. And I think that you kind of get that feel when you're with us. So you're not a number; you're a person. You have feelings, right? So we're going to get to know everything about you and your family and work with you.
I love it.
Michael, you live in Penticton, so you are truly in the Okanagan, which is nice.
Right.
I was fortunate enough to meet you through David, about a year ago now. And when you look at hockey today compared to when you first started, what are your thoughts on the game? you know, in particular, the draft is one of the calls that I've spoken with other agents about. You know, my personal feeling is the draft is too young. The age is too young.
Right.
Like you said about kids that mature at differing ages. I really look at the guy, you're right, the kid that's 14 that's got a beard, or the guy who at 16 is breaking puberty, but he's a hell of an athlete, that all of a sudden he's the top draft at 19. I'd like to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, you know? The draft is a little young, I think. I mean, the percentages show it. You know, it's tough to draft 18-year-olds when you know they play their first game. I think it's a week before. The average rookie plays a week before his 23rd birthday. So there's a 5-year span there. And so trying to understand what a person, and to me at that level, it's not even about the athlete as much anymore, it's about the person, right? You know, what are they willing to do? You know, what are they willing to do to get to that next level? And so, yeah, I do think it's a little young. You know, maybe reducing the number of rounds and having more free agents. I don't know what the answer is. But I do feel that, you know, for us, because we had to start this as an independent, we went after to start. The only way I could be competitive is to go after the free agents that I believed in, you know. And, you know, a local kid, Seth Barton, Jordan Kawaguchi that you work with.
Great hockey players.
Right? And these kids, like, they were never drafted to the Western League or the NHL, but you know what? They have just as good a chance as anybody.
Sure they do.
You know?
Both of them.
Absolutely. Yes. And Reese Johnson, another client of yours and ours.
Great hockey player.
Yeah, and these guys are playing, and they never went through that draft. So, in my kind of 10 years of doing this, it's one day. What matters is what are you willing to do
to get there.
Every day after that.
Beautiful.
You know?
Yeah, I love hearing that. I'd just like to say thank you again. Everybody's busy. Thanks for coming and spending, you know, 4th edition. We're hoping to maybe get one more in by the end of the season, but you know, in the first year that we've been out on the Doc Series and having some real key talent that I would say, and you being one of them, and you know, I'm excited to watch your firm grow. I'm excited to grow with you, and on behalf of DKL Financial myself, I'd like to say thanks again, Raff.
Thank you.
I wish you all the luck.
Yeah, it's not hard to spend time in a place like this.
Yeah.
I'll come back next week.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Raff.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks.